Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Thursday. I'm Leslie Watkins. So I think you can see somebody had a party here early this morning. We're not going to name names, but I suspect it was a house panther that got into my little box of my threads with my needles and my threader and tangled up my linen thread. So that is not good. But that wasn't enough. She also got one of my peacock quills, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but the whole point has been carefully punctured with many multiple little tooth marks. So this is no longer of any service to any calligrapher. This is kaput. So hi everybody, I hope you're well today. This little person, this little feline person that I'm talking about is Circe, and she's my little black house panther, and she's an imp and she gets into things. And she also loves to fetch. She's an incredible fetcher, and she has a mouse that has seen better days. It doesn't resemble a mouse at all anymore. Oh, and she's looking at me from up above in the loft. She hears me saying her name. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a visit. Here she comes down the stairs. Anyway, she loves to fetch this mouse. And she may be going to look for it right now. Anyway, I digress. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tools and materials that I use to make my journals. And I have a lot of plans for journal making this summer. One of the things I want to do is to create a kind of a travel journal and maybe a gratitude journal, and I want to keep the decoration kind of simple because I want it to be something that I can bring with me as I am doing my road trip in my Subaru Forester. I'm going to be going on a series of camping trips, and I want to bring my art supplies with me. So I thought I'd review with you today what some of those things are. So let me turn you down. So I keep my tools in a case that looks like this, and I love this case. This is no longer available, but you could find something I think that would work just as well. And then inside I have everything I need. So if I'm going to a crop or a team meeting or any kind of, I used to bring this with me to the farmer's market when I used to show people how to do paper crafting at the farmer's market. So it's just really easy to grab and go. And in it, it has everything. I've got my paper snips. These are awesome for getting really good, sharp little cuts, very precise. I have my indispensable bone folder. I don't do anything hardly without using my bone folder. I have a nice little ruler. Okay, so this is just a 6-inch ruler, but it's a nice metal ruler. It has a cork backing so that I can use it to make inked lines. And then I've got my paper piercer. I've got a reverse tweezer, which is great for handling those little tiny pieces. I've got a couple of pens. I've got a hole punch. I've got more pens on the back here. I've got some mini dimensionals, miscellaneous. I've got my post-it notes. And then on this side, it has a little pocket. So here's some more dimensionals. I've got a triangle here, a right angle triangle. More linen thread, which I love and I use all the time to embellish and also to stitch my journals together. And then in my case here, I have some glue dots. I've got a glue eraser. I've got my favorite multi-purpose liquid glue. I've got a I've got a corner rounder, another bone folder, ink eraser, and just some little odds and ends that sort of the junk drawer of the case. So this has everything, just about everything I could possibly want to make a journal on the go, and of course to make cards and boxes as well. Now the other tool that I use most often is my trusty trimmer. And that is this. So I absolutely love, love, love this tool. This is indispensable for making perfect right angle and precise cuts. It also has a scoring blade so that I can get a beautiful fold when I want to make my cards and box corners. So those are a couple of things I will be bringing with me when I go on my trips. I don't think I'm going to be bringing my cut and emboss machine because it's just so big and heavy, and so I think I'm going to avoid that altogether. But I also have some supplies. So you may have watched last time when I made this journal, I used an old hanging file folder that I just created a cover with. I cut to size. I added these pockets here. I reinforced the spine. Okay, so I have a ton of these left over from you know, renovating my files. So got a good supply of that. And what I did here is I decorated the cover. I'm just checking my settings to make sure that I'm live, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so like I said, I'm keeping it simple, so I'm going with a kind of a black and white motif here. I found this beautiful vintage woodblock set that I absolutely love, and I've bound some pages. Now the interior pages are mostly regular copy machine pages, but you could use anything. This is a thinner cardstock. You could use watercolor paper. It really depends on how you want to use your journal. And of course, if you want to use it for various, then you could mix it up. You can do, you know, the creativity is endless with these things. But today, I wanted to show you how I would go about decorating a couple of these pages. And so, as noted, this is the vintage set that I've used to decorate the cover. And I was thinking that the Gallery Bloom set has a very similar kind of a feel with this pen and ink kind of a technique. And if you were tuned in yesterday and last week, you'll know that the peonies are out and in bloom, and I love peonies, and it features a beautiful peony motif. I also like this sort of a Queen Anne's design, and I thought that would be a really fun border design. This would make a nice border design as well, and I don't know what that is. It looks sort of like a lilac, I think. And then you've got a little sort of a peony dingbat down here, and then this is sort of like a Cosmo maybe. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. But they're all beautiful, and they're all together here in the set, so I thought that would be fun. Oh, so here's a card I made. And actually, this ties in to what I'm talking about. I want to talk about this DSP. So, as I mentioned, these things that I've done so far, I did with black Memento ink. And by the way, I will be noting all of the materials that I'm using today and all of the tools. So if you're interested in getting any of those, you'll be able to do that. So, we have a new color that I really love, and it's called Secret Sea. And I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but it has a little bit of, oops, there goes the box. It has a little bit of a blue hue, so it's a really deep, rich blue-black color, sort of like the old inks that you would use for your fountain pen. And I just really love that. Hold on a minute while I pick up the box here. Hold, please. Space is at a premium here at Dandelion Cottage. It's just a little place. I have to get up and go behind my chair now and get the ribbon. Okay, I think I found everything. I hope I found everything. I just have some black ribbon here that I used for the closure on the journal. And I'm going to put this off to my other side so we don't have another accident. So this paper is called the Beautiful Gallery 6x6 Designer Series Paper Pack. It has 48 sheets in it, so it's a chunky little pack of paper. And what I did was I selected a handful of designs that I really liked that I thought would work well with the journal. So for instance, this little landscape design picks up on that green that the file folder is made of. So I thought that would be fun. I've got something that's kind of a neutral. I'm not sure what this is. It could be Pebbled Path. Actually, if you look on the back of the paper pack, it tells you what the colors are. So could be gray granite. Anyway, smoky slate possibly. All of these colors kind of go well with the cover of the journal and they go really well with the Secret Sea, which is the ink I want to use today. There's one more thing I want to share with you before we begin, and that is this DSP. Now, if you're unfamiliar, DSP stands for Designer Series Paper, and it just it refers to this beautifully designed paper that has an image on both sides, so you can choose which side you prefer. Okay, and it's 100% lingham free, which means that it's not going to crack and yellow. It's kind of an archival paper, and so that's something that you want for your projects to make sure that they hold up over time. So I'm just going to go through these kind of fast. There's the front and the back side, and these, I don't often gravitate towards photographic designs, but I really liked the color and the patterns here, so it caught my eye. So we've got this sort of a basket weave here. We've got something that looks like burlap on the other side. More of these beautiful dark brown neutrals. So I think you get the idea. So the one that jumped out at me was this one on the top, although I really love this as well. And I'm going to just put this aside so I can show you what I'm going to do with that. Slip these back in their envelope. So I like the way these went together, something like this. I like the idea of using this sort of textural background and then having a little image cut out for the foreground. So I thought that would be a fun way to decorate some of the pages. These designs also are double-sided, but the ones I have up here I think are the ones that I'm most interested in. And one of the things that I love doing is including pockets in my journal. So I have off to the side here in my box of goodies, I have some of my favorite die sets. And these are ones that I go to over and over again. Let me pull them all out to share with you. So I have this pocket set of dies. You can easily cut these out yourself with the paper trimmer, but the dies make it a little bit easier. This is called the Pocket Thoughts dies. I have a couple of framing die sets. I have the deckled rectangles, which is maybe my all-time favorite, but there's this new one now that I like quite a bit. It's called Textured Notes dies, and these dies each have a different design on the edge, and I thought I would use that today. And then I have my tailor-made tag dies, and I use these all the time. And my thought was, if I wanted to create, let's just grab one of these, a tag die like this, and one of these decorative frames, and I haven't even taken these out of the pack yet, so they're still all glued down. You could create a little pocket using the frame dies. Now that might be a little bit tight. I might want to go next size up. I think that would be better. So the tag, excuse me, the tag would slide in there easily, or you could use it landscape style and tuck a handful of tags in there. So sky's the limit. I'm really interested to see where your creativity takes you. So if you're not a member already, please go to the Watercolor and Stamping Up Paper Crafting Facebook group. All you have to do is put a comment below and say hello, tell me where you're from, and I'll recognize your name. And then when you ask for admittance to the private group, I'll see your name and I'll be able to let you right in. And in that group, we have a lot of very creative paper crafters and watercolor painters, and we use Stamping Up products that are both new and retired. So if you've got a big stash of product, if you've got a lot of materials and supplies, and you're looking for inspiration to use it up, that's the group for you. So please go ahead and do that. And if you're following along with the journal making this summer, then I want to see what you're making. Share your pages, share your ideas. We all learn from one another, and it's a wonderful source of inspiration for everybody. All right, so I've done a lot of talking so far today. I'm going to get busy. So let me move these things off my desk. I'm going to need my stamp set. Okay, so I think what I want to do a little stamping and get that out of the way first. So for that, I have my stamp pad, and I'm going to be using some watercolor paper, if I can find a piece. One moment, please. I have to go grab it from over to the side here. I have my watercolor kit that I've been bringing in the car with me and doing some watercolors, and in it is where my paper got stashed. I'm using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is 100% cotton paper, which is very important when you're doing watercolor. And I'm just going to grab a sheet, and I don't think I need the whole sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. I'm going to cut this at 3.5. That gives me 2 pieces of equal size. And then I'm going to get my peony stamp out. And this is a fairly good size stamp, so I'm going to go ahead and mount this up on my, I think it's the F block. Let's check. Oh, it's the E block. Now, even if you don't have any painting or watercolor experience, anybody can do this. It's very simple. All I'm doing is gently tapping my stamp on the ink pad, just barely touching it. Because this is a brand new stamp, I'm just going to flip this over and do a test. That looks perfect. And for this particular painting, I'm going to go ahead and stamp off, remove the excess ink, and then I'm going to grab my watercolor paper and stamp again. And this is what you would call a second generation stamp. So it's going to be a little bit lighter, and that's fine because I'm going to be painting on this stamped image. So I have a watercolor brush here, and this is just some inexpensive brush with a round point. Okay, so it comes to a nice point. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of that ink off the pad, and I'm just going to brush it right onto my stamped image. Now, the ink that's used to create these stamped images is a water-based ink, which means that when you touch water to it, it's going to activate and it's going to begin to flow just as watercolor would. Because I did a light stamping, I'm not getting a very dark value, and that's exactly what I want. I just want a light wash, and I'm starting with the leaves, and then I'm doing the same thing to the flowers. I'm leaving some areas of white for the highlights. And there's my first wash. So with just a damp paintbrush and a little bit of water, I was able to activate the stamped image, and that is providing me with a lovely light initial wash. Okay, now I'm going back into my stamp pad, and I can add, I'm going to open this up so I can use a little bit on the lid as well. So I can use this lid as a palette, And all I'm doing here is just adding a little more ink in the places where I want it to be a little bit darker. And then finally, I can take a stronger mixture, so this is more ink, less water, and I can add my darkest dark areas. So design wise, what I've done now is I've incorporated a similar technique. So the image here relates to what I already have in my journal, and now I'm introducing a color palette that will also coordinate nicely with the other elements that I add to my journal. Okay, and I'm just painting very loosely here. If you want to learn more about watercolor painting and how to get started, you can go to Dandelion Cottage Design on YouTube. There are hundreds of videos there that you can watch, how-to videos, a lot of floral design, landscapes, all sorts of things. So that would be a good place to help you get started. Okay, just adding a few dark accents. You know, so often people say, oh, I could never do that, I can't draw a straight line. Well, you don't have to draw a straight line. All you have to do is stamp the image and you're off and running. Anybody can do this. Just be patient, take your time, and practice. All right, so I'm going to zoom you in. Whoops, not that much. Okay, so that's how it looks so far. I just want to pull it together a little bit. And a couple of accents in here, here, some of these leaves. There we go. All right, so I'm going to call that done. And put my ink away. Now if you want to stamp a some sort of a sentiment on here, you could do that. I'm not going to bother right now. I could always come back and do that later if I decide that it needs it. So the way I put this particular journal together is I have the lighter cardstock on the outside of the signature, and then I have the writing paper on the inside. Because this is a heavier piece of the watercolor paper, I think what I want to do is add this to the stiffer cardstock. So I'm thinking that back here on the end page might be nice. Maybe on the back. I think I'll do that. All right, and I'm looking at my decorative series paper. And I kind of like the way that looks as a possible border. So I might do that. Kind of like that. All right, so let's see. Let's do a little careful measuring here. See what we've got. So that gives us a 1/2 inch border on the sides. So if I measure 3.5, that means I have to cut this at 4.5. I can save this. This would make a nice bookmark or maybe a tag, so that will be put aside for later. That looks pretty good. And I'm thinking what I want to do is I want to add a little thin border of the Secret C. So let me grab, I'm going to grab a piece of that. Okay, that's my black. Hold on. Hold, please. I haven't even opened up my Secret C cardstock yet. Okay. And I want this to be just a little bit bigger than the art, so I'm going to cut this at 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. Let's just see if I did that right. No. Okay, let me trim that down. This is 5. I'm thinking of my card sizes. Okay, so 5 1/4. 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And there's my beautiful border. I'm going to go ahead and get that glued together. Get my glue started. Move this out of the way so I don't get glue on everything. Oops, I dropped that. Make sure that that's straight. When you're happy with the positioning, grab your bone folder, give that a good burnish. I did get a little bit of glue around the edge there, so I can just take my glue eraser and very gently give that a quick rub, and that's going to remove any excess glue that may have gotten on the top of your paper. Sure that's nice and straight. There we go. Lots of options. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here. I'm going to leave a little bit of room down at the bottom here if I want to add something. You know, one of the features that I like about creating these journals is that everything, one step leads to an idea for the next step. So you don't have to feel as though you've got all your ideas ready to go all at once, although sometimes that does happen. But you know, the process of creating these pages is really the best part. It's what makes it so fun. And so if you just allow the creativity to sort of guide you as you go, and have faith that everything's going to come together, you can leave places here and there that are unfinished, because at the end, once you get all your major pieces assembled, you're going to have lots of little things that you're going to want to add. And so it could be a little tag down at the bottom, or it could be some kind of an embellishment. It could be just about anything. So don't worry about having everything all finished right off the bat. Let the creative journey evolve as you go. So that's it for now. I'm going to continue working in this little book, and make sure that you subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage. Go to dandelioncottagedesign.com, subscribe to Notes, and you will find out about how you can follow along with your own journal and get a little kit that has everything that you need to get started, and lots more information about my travels this summer and what I do in my car camping road trips. So thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next time. I will be away, so I'll be sharing videos at unexpected times for the next couple of weeks. So you never know, but I will keep you updated on where I am, and maybe I'll see you on the road. So stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I'll see you next time.